anointed grace to a broken throne, the rise and fall of flesh and bone. In the shadow of the Lord's command, kings and prophets walk the sand. The witch's call and the blackened night, a desperate king seeks ghostly light. The crown is heavy, the end is near. Saul falls upon his blade of fear. David weeps for the fallen friend, a kingdom torn, yet will it mend. The Lord's anointed of rise and fall, grace remains above it all. From anointed grace to a broken throne, the rise and fall of flesh and bone. In the shadow of the Lord's command, kings and prophets walk the sand. Kingdom forged, a promise made, through sin and loss, his plan displayed. Crown and shadows, the story told, a light eternal, a love of old.
Good evening. Hope everyone is doing well. Let me get that out of here. Okay. Got an interesting night tonight. So we're going to be all over the board. We're going to be talking about men's tampons and meta, and going to talk about a very interesting theft out of Southern California. Very interesting. I'm concerned about certain aspects of it. We're going to talk about aliens. We're going to talk about aliens a little bit. We're going to talk about my first major concern that we've been bait and switched. And we're going to follow everything up because it's time to do it again. I'm going to talk a little bit about my testimony and my ordination. So I'm going to save that to the end. Some people probably don't want to hear that. I'm fine. I'm good with that. For those that do, stick around. I guarantee you it's an interesting story if you hadn't heard it previously. So I did up a couple, I can't say I did. I requested a couple of monologues, both from, one from Grok and one from ChatGPT. Pardon me, belching a little bit. And involving this story with Meta and removing the tampons from the men's restrooms. And, neither one of them, I don't think were worthy. So I think how I'm going to do that is I think that I'm going to see what it gives me on certain stories, and when it gives me a good one, I'll do it. When it gives me crap, I won't. Even Grok, I must say, was very left-sided in their in their little monologue they wrote for me, and I don't want that. I don't want any political slant on it. I just want it to be funny. There doesn't have to be a political slant to be funny. And so, I thought, man, if there's something we can poke fun at, it's this story. But unfortunately, I don't know. I've got a lot of concerns in that kind of part of it. I think the people are getting shystered, to be honest. So let's go ahead and get started, because we do have quite a bit of ground to cover. And, howdy, Fire Marshal Bill. Meta to remove tampons from men's bathrooms. I'm sorry, guys. Sorry, they're going away. You no longer have a good place to get your supplies for sealing up puncture wounds. You know what I mean? Mark Zuckerberg's Meta Platforms has ended diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, with the changes relevant to transgender and non-binary employees reportedly already being felt across the offices or orifices of the Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp owner. The policy alterations began late on Thursday, shortly after the move was announced via an internal memo. For instance, managers at offices in Silicon Valley, Texas, and New York have been instructed to remove tampons from the men's bathrooms previously provided by the company for transgender and non-binary employees, the New York Times reported, citing 2 Meta employees. The only 2 that weren't too damned embarrassed to talk about it. The company also reportedly removed the non-binary and transgender themes from its Messenger chat app, while access to DEI policies and training manuals was locked on Meta's internal network. A U-turn on the company's DEI-based hiring process, which had taken racial and gender background into account, was first reported on Friday by Axios, which obtained the memo sent to staffers by Janelle Gale, Meta's Vice President of Human Resources. And it goes into that. You can dig into it all you want. This isn't the only thing. Jeff Bezos. Wasn't it Jeff Bezos? I think it was. They're getting rid of their DEI stuff. So I find that very interesting. And while I'm not going to say that I automatically think Zuckerberg and Bezos are great people, I will say for right now, whatever their motivation for actually doing this is, for now, watch the companies that distance themselves with these policies and the companies that don't. Well, let's see if, for instance, Microsoft distances itself from these policies. I'm willing to bet that the answer to that is no. Microsoft, from a video I watched earlier, I believe from Glenn Beck, is apparently trying to take control of 3 Mile Island and restart 3 Mile Island to be able to power data centers. That's not a joke. We're going to be talking about data centers a little bit later. Man, I'm telling you, while I've got hope, a little bit of hope for what's coming after, we'll say after January 20th, I'm concerned. And I'm keeping my eyes open. And what I'm seeing, of course I'm seeing good things. We're all seeing good things. But I'm not going to be blinded by a bunch of nonsense. I'm going to keep my eyes open for everything. And there are some things that are highly concerning to me. So anyway, let's go ahead and hit this. Suspects cut fence at California Army Reserve Center before stealing Humvees and equipment. This is crazy. 3 Humvees and other military equipment were stolen from an Army Reserve Center in Tustin, California earlier this week, according to police. Unknown suspects entered a storage warehouse at the Army Reserve Center on Wednesday between 8 p.m. and 11:30 p.m., Tustin police wrote in a press release. Multiple storage lockers at the facility were found with removed locks and missing gear. Now, this is the part that really kind of bothers me. The suspects made an unsuccessful attempt to cut a lock to uniform storage. So they didn't just want equipment, they wanted uniforms. And that part of it really concerns me above all the rest, believe it or not. Police said the suspects cut a fence to gain access to a military vehicle parking lot where they stole 3 Humvees. The suspects left the area at an unknown time, according to police. How can you not know this stuff on a military base? In total, the suspects stole 1 armored Humvee, 2 cloth door Humvees, 8 machine gun vehicle mounts, 7 freestanding machine gun tripods, 40 pairs of binoculars, 18 bayonets, yikes, and medical equipment. So the Army told police it's not aware of any additional loss of weapons or ammunition. So I don't know how much of that statement we can rely on. It may be true, it may not be true. But I find this very interesting. And like I say, the part about the trying to get to the access to the uniforms, that concerns me. That concerns me pretty much above any of the rest of it. Because now it's not a matter of them just having the equipment. It's also them being able to impersonate a U.S. military. That part scares me. So, let's see here. Probably roll through these pretty quick. That way, we can make it an easy night. Sorry, just catching up on stuff. Okay. So, aliens. This one's going to take a little bit, because I'm going to play a video that was put out by Jason A., and it's just a compilation of other videos, so I'm not really stealing his stuff because he stole it too, kind of, you know what I mean? So I'm just replaying Jason A.'s video, and you guys know when I do this, I don't like crop out whose video it is or anything like that. Jason A. is the channel that did this. It's titled Breaking U.S. Government Confirms Alien Invasion. And it's 8 minutes, 26 seconds. I'm going to play the entire thing. And then, hang on, let me look at the chat. Yeah, see, I'm having a hard time, believing that they were able to get all this equipment and stuff like that. And, yeah, the whole damn thing concerns me. But the part about the uniforms really concerns me. But, yeah, I know what you're saying. Okay, I'm going to play this close to 8.5 minutes long. And I'll probably stop it in one particular place so I can comment on it right then. But other than that, I'm going to leave it be as it is.
And your first question was if China or Russia. If Russia owned it, they wouldn't be battling in Ukraine. It'd be over. Putin's ego, it wouldn't have happened. China, they would control us. Even they pretty much do now, but even more so. So that goes back to my original premise. It's either something that's extraterrestrial or something that we have in our skunk works that we are reverse engineering.
The last 5 weeks, we have continued to cover whatever it is that's happening in the skies all over the world. Mysterious drones now being reported over parts of 50 states and in countries across the globe. And if you followed this story even just a little bit, you'll realize that what people are seeing and recording, this is not stuff that comes from this planet, and the complete silence on this topic from our government has only added fuel to the many theories that are now circulating right now on the internet. Dr. Stephen Greer is back with us. He's the founder of the Disclosure Project. Dr. Greer has been consistent with us for weeks that there is a disclosure coming before the presidential inauguration, which now leaves us with 10 days. Dr. Greer, it's great to have you back. This is where we are right now. A flight crew on a commercial airplane recorded this large orb in the skies while they were at 17,000 feet. And now people, we mentioned this a week ago, are reportedly getting sick all over the world from this granular, mysterious fog that's being seen all over the place. Right. Does this disclosure happen next week? And if it does, how does it happen? When it starts happening, how will we know?
Well, it'll be all over the news. It's good to see you again.
Okay, this is a spot I'm going to interject. So, once again, we're given not an exact date, but we're given a time period of a prediction when something earth-shattering is going to be released. Okay? We're back to the drone thing. We're back to all this. Are some of these drones? Yes. Are some pilots seeing crazy shit in the air? I'm sure they are. However, I don't buy for a second that Mr. Greer has an inside source that knows that between now, listen to this, between now and inauguration, meaning sometime this week, there is going to be an earth-shattering disclosure about aliens. So, the reason why I'm saying this, the reason why I'm playing this, the reason I'm talking about this is so that when this doesn't happen next week, we can put the damn thing to bed. And if I'm wrong, I would hope you know me enough by now to come on, that I will come right on and tell you how wrong I was. And I'll be just as happy about being wrong as I will about being right, because that's not my motivation. My motivation is truth. 100% truth. I don't know if he's the famous Area 51 guy or not. I think he's famous for some Area 51 stuff. But, you know, there are others as well. Yeah, this guy has had a lot of interesting tales over the years. I've known of Dr. Stephen Greer for a long time, and listened to a lot of his interviews and stuff like that. Been aware of the man for a very, very, very long time. But we've got a news media that is really having a heyday jerking people around. And, you know, there are people, maybe even some that watch this show, that believe the earth is flat. And I don't know, but they believe the earth is flat. And I damn well guarantee you that if the media gave them an opportunity to speak about flat earth to the world, that they would jump at it. They would jump at it. Yeah, I know. Well, this is that, I think that Newsmax or whatever, and yeah, they are they're pretty much a joke. Pretty much a joke. So we'll see, right? If I'm wrong, I ain't got a problem admitting it. If I'm right, and there's not some earth-shattering disclosure, I don't want to hear no bullshit excuses as to why there wasn't, and it's going to be in another time. No, we're going to put this damn thing to rest, because the truth of the matter is 99.99999% reports of frickin' drones in the air are aircraft that people are misidentifying. And I mean, if you really gotta be fooled about something, you do you, boo. But most of them are just regular aircraft. You know, not saying that there are no drones, and I am the last cat to tell you that there are no aliens. But I don't know that I follow this story real well.
Just heard about an hour ago from the, we call the NOC, he's non-official cover aerospace intelligence community, a senior operator from one of the key black sites, 2 black sites out in the western United States. And they are preparing to do this next week. I don't have an exact date. They intend to not only provide their testimony of operations, he's been there almost 30 years, but also the evidence and other details. Now, he's been involved in 2 things. One is the testing and the surveillance of the man-made UAPs that have been manufactured out of the Lockheed Skunk Works and Northrop Grumman complexes out in the high desert.
Okay.
The other is the targeting of non-human craft. Some would say extraterrestrial, some say alien. The words they're using now is NHI, non-human intelligence, and the downing of those objects. So he's been intimately involved. I've been at his facility, and that is on track. Now, keep in mind, so much of what is being seen now is sort of a decoy false operation sort of trying to intercept what he's going to be doing and what we've been doing for some time.
But there's no way, Dr. Greer, we've talked about, there's no way all of this can be a false. It's all over the world now. It's being seen over cities in India, cities in South Korea. It's just the coordination that would be required to do something like that. I think it's beyond the scope, unless there is something going on that I'm completely unaware of, which of course is a possibility.
Good afternoon. My name is Robert Salas. In 1967, I was a first lieutenant stationed at Malmstrom Air Force Base, Montana. Sometime in the evening hours on March 24th, I received a call from one of my topside guards, the flight security controller, stating that they had been observing strange lights in the sky making odd maneuvers. He called back about 5 minutes later. This time he was screaming into the phone saying they're looking at an object, a red glowing object hovering just above our front gate. I went to wake my commander, Fred Mywald, who was taking a rest break, started to tell him about the phone call, and just as I told him, our missiles began going into what's called a no-go condition or unlaunchable. Essentially, they were disabled.
Are aliens already here? Yes or no?
Oh, sure. I mean, there have been non-human extraterrestrial civilizations that have been observing the planet for thousands of years, and it increased remarkably once we detonated the first atomic bomb. There's no question about that. In fact, this particular team coming forward have dealt with the remains and on occasion living non-human life forms that have been downed, and some are still in captivity in subterranean facilities or STIFs.
To me, Dr. Greer, feels like, and you answered my other question, it feels like right now the public worldwide is being primed for something. You know, for the last 50 years, we've had movies about aliens. Going back to Roswell, we've had reports of flying saucers. And now people, not just in northern New Jersey, are seeing strange things in the sky. It seems like these beings are technologically far superior than we are, and they're doing this with incredible patience, priming a worldwide audience for something else. Do you agree with that? And then what are they priming us for?
Well, it's very complex, but the bottom line it is they've been waiting for humans to acknowledge their presence so that they don't have to force into it, which could look aggressive, because they're not aggressive, obviously.
Force into it like land in Times Square, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're not going to do something like that. They're going to do a sort of an acculturation and desensitization operation. What does that mean?
What does that mean?
Which means it's gradual.
Okay.
And it has been over the decades. Now, the big problem here are rogue military-industrial complex operations that have reverse engineered these extremely advanced technologies and can use them in staged event. And this is where everyone, when I say everyone, I mean everyone from the generals that I have briefed at the Pentagon to director of the CIA, past, not incoming. And that is that they greatly underestimate what has been developed. I mean, Ben Rich, before he died, who was head of Lockheed Skunk Works, said, anything you can imagine, as you've seen on Star Trek, we've already figured out, and it's out there in the desert. He says, not Area 51.
Okay.
Talking about
how far ahead of us? And the last time you were on, you said there are multiple different alien societies from different planets visiting us.
Right.
How far ahead of us are they?
At least 60 to 70 that have been documented, and the development of very powerful
If they landed, Dr. Greer, could they communicate with us?
I'm sure they can. I mean, I don't know how that would exactly take place. It may be some strange. I mean, remember, one of the things that Elon Musk is working on at Neuralink is an interface between thought and machine.
Right, right.
Now, I will tell you, this is a big secret that's going to come out very quickly with this team, because they've dealt with this, is that there is a direct interface between technology and consciousness and thought that's been developed by these advanced civilizations. This is not Ma Bell we're talking about here in terms of communication. So it's that's just a prelude. We don't have time to unpack that, but I know about that in a very specialized fashion.
Does Donald Trump need to appoint somebody like yourself as an alien czar or a UAP czar?
Well, this has been suggested. We'll see. I mean, of course, the president, you serve at his pleasure. As it is, I've been an unofficial advisor for many administrations on this. And
Okay.
now that this is going to be coming to a head, we'll see if he wants someone to do that. If I would certainly consider it if I was asked, but that has not happened.
Dr. Greer, I'm interested to see what's really going on out there. We've got 10 days before the inauguration.
Well, as soon as this drops and we get this from this team, we'll send it over to you.
All right. Dr. Stephen Greer, have a great weekend. Thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate it as always.
So that was obviously from a couple of days ago. So like I say, we'll see. That's all we can do. We'll see. Hey, you know what? I will actually be happy to tell you I was wrong, because to get that kind of information, it would excite me. And I know that different people have different views and different opinions and all that stuff, but if I heard the government announcing that, you know, we were indeed in contact with extraterrestrial life, that would be pretty awesome. I've always been a massive science nut. I've always looked to the stars. I've always thought that there were others out there, and that would be. I've seen a lot of really cool things in my lifetime. I've had the opportunity to witness a lot of cool stuff. And, boy, that sure would be some good icing. That sure would be some good icing. So, the next thing I'm going to talk about, again, I'm somebody that's going to keep my eyes open. I'm not going to close my eyes. And I'm going to do my best to think as many different angles on particular things as I can. This particular story concerns me. Now, this is dated January 7th. I remember hearing Trump talk about this when it was live. And I remember him introducing this individual, which was the first individual that he introduced that night, and he was standing there right from the beginning when Trump started. So this is clearly, very clearly, a very important person when it comes to Trump. Trump announces Dubai company will invest at least $20 billion in U.S. data centers. Dubai company. Remember that America First thing? Yeah, I got lost there, I think. Check this out. Dubai developer DAMAC, or however you say it, Properties will invest at least $20 billion over a very short period of time in the U.S., primarily in data centers in the middle of the country, President-elect Donald Trump announced Tuesday, as the company's billionaire founder and CEO, Hussein Sajwani, stood nearby. Speaking to reporters at Trump's Florida Mar-a-Lago estate, Trump and I don't know how to pronounce it, Sajwani, I'm kind of making that up, said Trump's victory in November influenced the company's decision to make the investment. He's doing it because of the fact he was very inspired by the election, Trump said. DAMAC Properties, primarily a real estate developer, plans to invest in new data centers across Texas, Arizona, Oklahoma, Ohio, Illinois, Louisiana, Michigan, and Indiana. The data centers will support artificial intelligence and cloud services. It was amazing news for me and my family when he was elected in November, Sajwani said. We've been waiting for 4 years to increase our investment in the U.S. to a very large amount of money. The president-elect said the company may even double that $20 billion investment, but Sajwani said his company will start with the $20 billion. So, here's the thing, right? First off, it's a foreign company, and I thought we were all about America first. I know the data centers are coming here. Well, you know what? The data centers were coming here anyway. It wouldn't have mattered if Kamala Harris would have won the presidency. It wouldn't have mattered. The data centers were coming. I like AI. It's fun to play with. It's fun to toy with. But, hang on. But, and it's a big, big but, like baby got back. There needs to be a limit. There needs to be a cap. It's okay playing with it to get it to write music or song lyrics or ask questions. But we got to keep an eye on this. Because I'm telling you, this stuff is insane. The fact that I can put in some song lyrics that are generated by ChatGPT just by telling it a particular book of a particular Bible, and it spits the lyrics out for me, and I input that into Suno, tell it what type of music I want it to be, and give it a title, and it spits out what you've been hearing at the beginning of the shows. And it does so within a matter of a few minutes. That is mind-blowing to me. Mind you, I'm somebody that used to hit the record button on my cassette deck boombox to record the song on the radio station, right? So we've advanced a little bit, even since the Sony Discman days. Just a little bit. The fact that I can have lyrics generated for you, put those lyrics in another AI, and have it generate the entire damn song, and do a pretty good job of it, I must say, that's amazing stuff. That is so amazing. It's unreal. We have to be careful of this, right? This is, in my opinion, awfully close to taking that bite of the forbidden fruit. That's what I compare it to. Because it's not going to take long for it to get out of hand. Not long at all. I watched a video that Tim Pool put out earlier today, and they were watching videos about these different robots. Robot dogs, humanoid robots, stuff like that. Robots that you can buy right now. I think the dog was like, I swear it said like $1,600 for one of the dogs. I think that was like the base model. And it was insane what they were able to do with those. And those you can get now. It's crazy. It is so crazy. There was a report talking about how long did it say? Let me go take a peek and see how long it said. Oh yeah, I'll mention that too. Okay, when did I post that? I know I posted it. Aha, here it is. I posted it like 2 days ago. AI to displace millions of jobs by 2030, says a study. Okay? Millions of jobs by 2030. So, no. AI is going to replace millions of jobs within the next 2 years. I'm telling you, within the next 2 years, AI will displace millions of jobs. In the following 3 years after that, the combination of AI and robotics is going to replace a whole hell of a lot of jobs. And then within the next, somewhere between the next 5 to 10 years, you're going to have the opportunity to own robots to be able to do your household chores. Mark my words on this. That's if we don't blow each other up first or something. But mark my words on that. That's coming, and it's coming quick. And the reason why is because it used to be that humans had to figure all this stuff out. Now humans got something that can think deeper and faster than that they can. They've got AI. And this AI is improving exponentially. It is absolutely mind-blowing at the rate that it's improving. I mentioned the songs that I've been making. I'm not even on the best tier of what their program can do. They've got version 4.0. I'm in the cheap seats, as in free, and stuck at version 3.5. So, and I've heard a couple of the version 4 songs that I've had it produced, because it gives you like 10 or something to start out that you can get for free. I think I've still got 4 left, actually. I'm kind of holding on to them. And then one of the songs I did was initially a 3.5, version 3.5, and it gave me one time that I could improve the song to a 4, and I did, and it was a massive improvement. I can't remember which one it was off the top of my head. I know you've already heard it, though. I'm like way ahead, by the way. Tonight was... Hang on. Because I got it numbered, 1 through 66 on the folders, so I know. Tonight was the 13th book of the Bible, and I've got the music. I don't have the videos all done up. I've got the videos all done up for this week. But I've got the music going all the way up to the 23rd book, which is Isaiah. And, yeah. So, and then tomorrow morning I'll have 2 or 3 more done. That's what I'm doing. I'm trying to get the music to them done as quickly as I can, so I've got that, and then it's just a matter of me editing and releasing them. So, anyway, just kind of letting you in on that. But all this week's are already scheduled, so I could fall over dead right now, and you'll get all this week's music, because it's all there. It's all scheduled at automatically 8 p.m. it'll release. So, anywho, hang on, I have to answer this real quick. I was answering my neighbor back. Anywho. Let's see. So we talked about this Dubai thing, but I'm concerned about this whole AI thing. And I'm very concerned that they're going to be opening up a bunch of data centers. Because I do believe that, man, I think our Skynet's here. I think our Skynet's here. And I think these data centers are going to be a part of it. So, I don't know, man. I keep seeing those remnants of 2 wings of the same bird. So we'll see. We'll see. There was something I thought I was going to mention real quick. That's crazy. Billboard named the song of the century, and I'd never even heard it before. So, can that even be the song of the century? Let's see. Oh, that's what it was. Amazing that airplane crash in South Korea that killed over 100 people. I can't remember the number offhand. Hang on. 179 people. Interestingly enough, the data's missing in the minutes before the crash. Just the data's missing. Now, these airplanes, these flight recorders, they have redundancies, you see. And it's not so easy for them just to fail or quit or lose power or anything like that, because there's redundancies. There was an airplane crash several years ago, and it happened right after they had been dealing with, I think it was Boeing, but don't hold me to that, was dealing with an issue. It was either with the rudder or the elevator. I think it was the rudder. But I think it was causing the elevator to get stuck, if I'm not mistaken. And anyway, there was a plane that crashed and killed everybody on board, unfortunately, that had this issue. And so there was another crash, and upon their initial look at things, kind of almost seemed to be the same issue. And so they investigate. I watched a documentary about airplane crashes. This is how I know this. And I remember all kinds of crazy stuff. And so the plane crashed in the water, and they were having a hell of a time getting the evidence they needed to figure out what the problem was. Well, the data recorder, the flight data recorder, oddly enough, had shut off right before the issue started. Right before the issue started. And it was of vital importance for them to find the tail of that aircraft so that they could identify whether or not this was a victim of the same issue that caused the prior crash. Well, they found the tail section. They found the part that they needed to find, and it did not appear that that was an issue. So after tons and tons more investigation, what they finally had decided the issue was, and they had reason, they did have enough evidence, that it was a suicide, that the pilot took the plane into the ground. Now, the reason, one of the things I should say, one of the pieces of evidence that they have of this is just right before the voice recorder on the flight data recorder shut off, the whole system shut off, you could hear a click that sounded just like the breaker on the aircraft that you would have popped out in order to disable the data flight recorder. So, between what other evidence they had about, I guess, mental state, life situation, all that good stuff, they were able to pretty well conclude that it was a suicidal pilot. I would cross out with homicidal, and that's the only case I know of. That's why I brought it up. That's the only case I know of to where they couldn't retrieve the information from the flight data recorder. And it was because somebody shut it off. So I'm not buying this story from this airline in South Korea. I'm not buying it. It's crazy, to be quite honest. We'll see. I'm sure that there'll be more investigation, more information, stuff like that, and all we can do is wait to see what happens. Okay, let me have a drink of tea, a couple of vapes. I don't drink, but a couple of shots of vodka would be nice. Well, okay, I'm a weakling, so put some orange juice in that vodka and I'm good. Like a lot of orange juice. So, June 14th, 2005, my life took a massive turn. And I've talked about this before, but I'm going to talk about it again because it's important. And it's important that folks understand what makes me tick and why I tick this way. Again, June 14, 2005, my life made a huge change. Started out with me getting up, getting ready for work, going to work. I worked at a plant in Carlisle, Illinois. It was an injection molding plant. And I was one of the dudes that kind of cleaned up the parts. And when I mean cleaned up the parts, I mean like trimmed up the parts and stuff like that after they got done being molded. I trimmed all the extra mold stuff off and all of that. And I worked with a guy that, and I can't remember his name anymore, but the guy was a trip. He was an absolute blast. And one day, well, this particular day, June 14, 2005, he told me that he was an ordained minister. Now, mind you, I worked with this guy, and this guy was crazier than I was, by far. And I actually got in trouble from my supervisor because I was laughing so hard. And so I asked him, I said, man, dude, you got to tell me the secret. How the hell did you do this? And I always say I was atheist. I don't know that I was atheist. I think I was more agnostic, to be honest. And I'm like, dude, you got to tell me how you did this. And he goes, oh, no problem. You just go online and fill out a form and you're done. It doesn't even cost anything. All right, man. And so I finished out my day of work, went home, and me and my now ex-wife were, and this was actually before we were married, we were staying at an old friend of mine's house, and my computer stuff was down in the basement, right? And so I went downstairs, went down in the basement, sat down on my computer. I actually had several of them set up. And started poking around online, and I found a place called Universal Ministries. So I went there, I read the web page and stuff like that, and I'm like, well, this is simple enough. No problem. Now, here's the joke. And it was a joke. The joke was, if I can get ordained, anybody can get ordained. And that was the joke behind it. Which, by the way, is true. And so I filled out the form and sent it away. I joined their Yahoo group. Now, I'm not a modest person. I wasn't going to go and I wasn't going to start trouble or anything like that. But I was going to have a lot of damn good laughs, that's for sure. That was my intent. And so, before the night was over, I started getting, it was a Yahoo group, so I started getting emails of conversations from this group. But I also got a reply from Universal Ministries, the head of it, Douglas Hickman. And there was my ordination. And, again, June 14, 2005. Been a while. When I got this, I'm not going to say that I didn't believe. I didn't care, I didn't know, and I didn't care. I guess I was more agnostic than anything. And by the way, Mr. Hickman is also the same one that officiated my marriage. And that's a picture of me standing there with Mr. Hickman. And he's a good man. Really, really, really good man. So anyway, I thought, well, that's that. Didn't honestly think a whole lot more other than the laugh I kept having over and over. And starting the very next day, I started seeing the name Jesus pop up like all kinds of places and very odd places. And this was happening at an alarming rate. And as each day passed by, I'd see the name more and more, and even in more odd places. And a week went by, and I'm like, this is too much. It kept on. And at the end of close to 2 weeks, and I mean, I am seeing the name Jesus everywhere. I'm on my way home from work. And we were living in Greenville at the time. And I was coming from I came through Highland. And, because this is where my home is. I mean, no matter where I live, Highland's always going to be home. And, I was coming through Highland on the way to where I was living in Greenville. And I can tell you where I was at. I was right by the Highland Supply Building, getting ready to turn left onto 6th Street. I was coming off of Jockey, and I was behind a semi. And I can remember being really frustrated because I'm waiting for this damn semi. It was kind of a tight turn, so it would have took him a little bit to navigate. And I'll be damned if that truck didn't make a left-hand turn. And on the side of the entire trailer was the name Jesus. And at that point, I was pissed off. And I mean pissed off. I drove where I was living, went down into the basement, and I'm going to tell you exactly what I did and said. I got down on my knees, and my very first words to God was, "What the fuck do you want with me?" That was my words. And the answer I got is, "I want you to learn." He told me I was but an infant. And he wanted me to learn as much as possible about him. And that when I had questions, that I was to come to him and ask only him. I was not supposed to align myself with any religion or belief. That I was supposed to go to him. I'm telling you, it was life-changing. The whole event. And that is why I don't get involved in too much in Bible discussions. I don't talk about it too much. Because I'll tell you what, I've got a question. And I'm not going to answer this question. I'm just going to tell you the question. However, if you really want to sit down and have a real nitty-gritty conversation with me about the Father, this is the question that I will ask you. And depending on your answer, depends on how deep I will get with you, or even how much time I will give the subject. That question is, did Jesus, the only begotten Son, die on the cross for our sins? Pretty common question for Christians. I'm not going to give you the answer, but that's the question I ask. And depending on the answer that you give me, will depend on how much I will talk to you about it and how deep I will talk to you about it. And I will say this. On this entire ball of dirt, I've only known two people to answer it. One, personally, I know them. And the other is someone from history that I'm not really going to bring into this conversation because there'll be parallels drawn and all that stuff, and there shouldn't be. So, that's the reason I am the way I am. I've got many different versions of the word behind me. My go-to is the scriptures. Why? Because that's really about the closest you're going to get. Even though it still carries a lot of the falsehoods, it's going to get you a lot closer than anything King James or after. I can't help that. What I can tell you is this. If you want to know the answers to the questions about the Father, go to Him. Don't come to me. Don't go to another human being. Don't go to social media. Don't go to your church or any church. Get on your knees and ask. And if you don't get an answer, do it again. Be persistent. Maybe that is a test. That in and of itself could very well be a test. Well, how serious is this person wanting to talk to me? Be persistent. But have good reason to want to know the answers to your questions. Don't just... Are the Chicago Cubs ever going to win a World Series? You know what I mean? Don't go asking questions like that. It's been a long road. And I've fallen off of it a couple of times. The last time was a doozy. One hell of a doozy. And that's why I will not screw up again. Won't do it. That's one reason why the Father wanted me here to do this to begin with. Because I'm going to tell you the truth to the best of my ability. I'm not going to try to slant it in one direction or another direction for this motivation or that motivation. My only motivation is truth. And doing it for the Father. That's it. My motivation isn't money, although it helps. Donations help, stuff like that. Clearly. But that's not my motivation, and to be honest, we don't ever hardly get anything. It is what it is. That's not why I'm here. I'm here again to do the very best that I can to bring you the truth. Father sent me here to really press on two topics, and I've talked about this several times. Pole shift, because that's something that we're not escaping, and it's knocking on the door. And wood gasification, because I don't care how many preppiest preppers are prepping with all their Gucci crap. I'm not seeing a whole lot of them that are thinking about the long game. Not at all. Every single one of them you ask about fuel, and well, we've got fuel storage and we've got... Yeah? What happens when that runs out? Oh, we've got 1,000-gallon in-ground tank. What happens when that runs out? Do you just call it then? I mean, is everything on horseback then, or what have you? I mean, we're just going to piss away over a century of technology just because, well, we don't want to learn any other way. I don't know how else to look at it, but that's the truth. Because that fuel will run out, or it will go bad. There will be a day. And then you still have to be able to perform those tasks that you were using the combustion engine for to be able to sustain life. And when you don't have that capability, things are going to get ugly quick. That's why I say that these preppers don't understand the long game. Because to them, wood gasification sounds too confusing. They would have to learn too many things, and they ain't got time for that. Right? They need to put their time on their armor. They need to put their time on their optics and all of that crap. But they can't tell you 10 years down the line how in the hell they're going to produce enough food to be able to keep any number of people alive. Because I'll say it again. We don't have the animal-drawn equipment, horse, mule, oxen, what have you. We don't have the animal-drawn equipment. We don't have the animals trained for the animal-drawn equipment. And we don't have the people trained for the animal-drawn equipment. And there are going to be a whole lot of people die by the time folks figure it all out. There's a reason why I hammer down on wood gasification, and it's the Father. Because he told me to. And it makes sense. But I can't get it to make sense to the YouTuber crew. And I'm not talking about viewers, I'm talking about the so-called content creators that whatever the hell they're doing. So, I do take this a bit seriously. I take my relationship with the Father very seriously. I can tell you that Joseph Smith, the first prophet of what you know as the Mormons or the Latter-day Saints, was the real deal. Now, I won't go any further than Joseph Smith because they've got a real crackpot thing going on right now. And in fact, they pretty much turned their backs on all their original beliefs in order to appease the Christians. Why? Because it became more about the number of people they had and how much money was going in the collection plate. Joseph Smith, however, I will assure you was the real deal. How do I know that? Because I had much the same conversation with the Father that Mr. Smith did. And I guarantee you that he and I aren't the only ones. And I would be willing to bet that there's roughly 144,000 of us here right now. Can't tell you that they've all took heed to the calling. I have no idea. But I can tell you that there are certainly individuals that are ordained by the Father, whether it be by trickery, tomfoolery or what have you, as it was in my case, because it was a joke on myself. That I can't say backfired. It turned out for my benefit. But it certainly didn't end up the way that I thought it was going to. That's why I kind of shake my head. There was who was the chick? She lives down in North Carolina, and she just changed the name of her channel. It used to be some Arrow Tower or something like that. I can't remember what the name of it is now. Her name's Stephanie, super sweet lady. She'd been involved in building small, like tiny houses for the people that don't have any homes there due to the hurricane and the aftermath that followed. And where was I going with that? Now I don't even remember where I was going with that, and I apologize. It'll probably pop back up in my head. But, I'm telling you, there are people out there that are oh, yeah, now I remember. See, I told you. In the chat of one of her live videos, there was some dude going on and on and on about him being ordained and his college degree and all that. And I simply said, man does not ordain man. God ordains man. And he's like, you got to have a college degree and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you just really are not listening to what I'm saying. Yeah, the story is very interesting, Fire Marshal Bill. Read the book of Enoch. Read all of the Apocrypha. And you can figure it out. There's enough information there to figure it out. And I will just say that that's one of the things Christians were heavily lied to about. So, and there's reasons why they were lied to about it. It's all about power and control over knowledge, over information. It's all about that. And these are some very sick, twisted individuals at this. And I try to remind people that the two largest religious organizations on the planet are the two that were responsible for the quote-unquote death of Jesus Christ. Right? You've got Rome. That's the Catholics, if you hadn't figured that out. And you've got the Jews. And those are the two largest religious organizations on the planet. They run the show. The story is theirs that has been handed down. And very, very few people question it. And people should question it a lot more. So, but again, this is something that is between each and every one of us and the Father directly, aside from our own research. But it's very interesting what you find out about the whole death and resurrection story. And a lot of interesting stuff. He was crucified. He was absolutely crucified. But that doesn't mean, and didn't mean, nailed to a cross. That was an added definition, if you will. Crucified meant crucified. He was made fun of. He was picked on. He was beat on. He was cursed at. He was crucified before the meaning was changed to nailed to a cross. So, there's a lot of changes like that. Talk about Jesus meeting us in the clouds. Okay? Clouds, in that sense, is not white puffy things in the sky. Clouds are groups of people. He will meet us in the groups of people. Why doesn't anybody tell you this stuff? Well, because knowledge is power, and they want it all for themselves. Read the Apocrypha, and you'll learn a whole lot. And I'll even go a little further than that. There is one particular area of whatever you want to call it, but there is one particular area to where I'm currently learning more and more, and I have founded a trusted source where I think he's pretty trusted. His information I've checked is quite a bit of it, and it's pretty solid. There's a guy that talks about the Anunnaki, and let me find his channel, the name of it, and this guy, he's on target with a lot, and that's an important part of the story that you need to know. If you truly want to know what all went down, that's an important part. Hang on. I just watched a video just recently. I thought the thumbnail would like pop up and poke me in the eye. Hang on. All I got to do is type a word in the search and it'll pop right up. There we go. Anunnaki Ancient Mystery. I'll even give you guys a link to it. There you be. Anunnaki Ancient Mystery. And it's important stuff. If you want to know what happened, what went down, you got to know that story too. You got to know that side of it. And you're not done then. There's several sides to the story, and it's important to know as many of them as you can. Make sure to follow the Hopi side of the story, the Mayan side of the story, the Egyptian side of the story. They're all important. They're all important. And if you want a chance at understanding the whole truth in a way that we can get here on earth just without talking to God directly, it's understanding these different belief systems. And what I've always told people, and I've said this for over a decade, think of it as a Google map. And layer every different belief system on top of one another and see what lines up and what doesn't. You'll be amazed at how much that lines up. But where you see something that differs, start digging. Start digging. I can tell you that there's rituals and beliefs that we're supposed to take and really hold on to from all of the different belief systems. For instance, the Christian, I shouldn't say Christian, the Jewish, I'll try it again, the Jewish faith. Hanukkah. That is what we're supposed to get from that. We're supposed to get light. How important it is to have enough light from that. It was God's first command, let there be light. It's extremely important. Without light, we're done. We're done. If you can't see to work, if you can't see to cook, if you can't see to do anything, you're done. And if you're in nothing but darkness, how are you going to grow food? But it ain't about that, and you're not going to be in darkness forever. But you have to be prepared for when you are. And you damn well have to have enough oil to make it through that time period. It's a lot of interesting stuff. And I have put a long time into this. Since 2005. And it's been another one of those exponential things. I started out just dipping my toes in the water, till I wound up underwater. I don't talk about faith a lot. And the reason I don't is because a lot of the things that I have learned would seem very radical to a lot of people. And that's understandable. That's fine. I don't want to force my knowledge or my belief on anyone. But I don't want my knowledge or belief distorted either. And I won't allow it to be. When I've got questions, I go to the Father. Or I go to my research. I don't go to man. Not at all. I was literally commanded not to. And that's a command I haven't broken yet, and I'm not gonna. That's an important one. That is one that I can say helps me verify that Mr. Smith, Joseph Smith, was the real deal. Anyway, I am going to go ahead and get out of here. Didn't really think I was going to be on this long, but I will be back tomorrow, God willing. I'm starting to feel better. Hopefully it stays that way. When I wake up, man, I feel like a train hit me. Even this morning, I woke up, I felt like a train hit me. But throughout the day, my body kind of worked itself out a little bit, and I'm not in near as much pain as what I was earlier today. So hopefully that trend keeps going. I think the weather's really screwing with me too. So hopefully my body chills out and I'm not in so much pain. And I haven't even gotten much done with those videos for the music. Today I finished up the last one for this week. All the other ones I had done like a couple of days ago. I didn't work on them for 2 days because I just, like, the whole pain scale thing, and I've got a hell of a tolerance for pain, but the whole 0 to 10 pain scale, I was bouncing between a 7 and an 8, like nonstop, and it was miserable. And like I said, I've got a little bit of a reprieve going on right now. I just hope it stays. So, you too, brother. You have a good night. Peace to you. And I will see you all soon. Shalom.